Is the duty, friends, of any country to ensure that its stock exchanges are functioning effectively, efficiently, without any intervention and without any disruption, except for certain grave reasons, like we had in the case of NYSE, New York, at the time of the terrorist attacks. That was very valid reason. This was a major terrorist attack. Yesterday we found a major technical snag which disrupted trading on the NSE, the National Stock Exchange, a major exchange in a country like India, where a great amount of FII money is invested. This led to disruption of trading for almost 5 hours, more than 5 hours. Right from the time the trading commenced at 9:15, one could see that they were not in tandem with Asian markets, with other markets. I suspected something was not all right until a little while later I realized that the prices of the indices, the Nifty, were not getting updated. At first I thought it was just not moving because Sensex was also at that time not moving much. But when it was stuck at that same level for quite some time, I could realize that something was not okay. It is fine for the stock exchange if there is a technical snag, then they are within their right to close it, for some time, to close the trading for some time till they rectify it. They did nothing wrong in that. It's fine. But later on, we got intimation that around 1:30 they will be restarting the trading, and then it was said that that also probably is not sure. So most people wrote it off. They felt that trading is not going to happen today. Let's postpone it to tomorrow. Suddenly, around 3:15, the pre-market session starts, and we have 3:45 the commencement of official trading. Now, what has happened in between is that firstly people lost track. They felt that there is no more trading for the day. Secondly, various discount brokers, that's why you can understand that some of these things everything cannot be automated. Okay, everything now you realize why I put so much effort in explaining the markets and where we are headed and all. You can't just put it all to machinery and that's automatically do it. Just because it's an IT infrastructure and an IT backbone is built by these discount brokers does not mean that's the uh, end of everything. They have squared up positions at 3:15 on BSE. Now BSE is not the most efficient stock exchange to capture prices. The level of trading is lower. Besides, when suddenly you find that so many people's positions are getting squared off without their being known, firstly NSE should have allowed, declared much in advance that we won't be squaring off anything. Their margin requirements will not arise at 3:15 but much later, or they should have just suspended trading for the day. If most of the day is gone, then where was the sense in fact you are not capturing the prices correctly. Even if you watch the trading that happened between 3:45 and 5, at that time Dow futures was up only 14 points, and here we have a Sensex and Nifty going into la la land, 300 plus, Sensex 1000 plus. European markets were barely up 0.2%. You can go back and check. In the morning session, in fact, the Hang Seng was down over 1,000 points. Most of the Asian indices were down 2%. So there is no consistency. Not only that, to add fuel to the fire, there was a breaking news that came in about the private sector banks being allowed to engage or to get some of the government expenditure, collection of expenses, of taxes, many things. Okay. So this gives additional ammunition to the private sector banks, and we saw the private sector banks zoom. The bank nifty went to the roof. When there's it's a simple logic, and I think they failed, and SEBI should look into this. What has happened? When, let us say, I contract in the morning for a certain put or a call, It is based on the conditions and the availability of information at that particular point of time. Okay. So the stock exchange is guaranteeing that this is the information that is there at that point of time. Whatever it is, it's a public information, right? That's why you have listed companies and you have company secretaries declare that this is the information that should be in the purview of the public, domain of the public, and people get that information. Now you have involuntarily, let's say I have bought some put, involuntarily I cannot trade during the day, but you reopen the trading later on, and what do you do at that point of time? Is that this market moving information comes about private sector banks being given a greater say in collection of government dues, taxes, and in fact even distribution of some of their benefits. It's a market moving event which was not there in the morning at 10 o'clock, right? So the entire, this is a new information which has come on the basis of which the market is, it has come at 4 o'clock or 3:30. You guys can check whenever that came, but came in much later. This was not there at the time at which I bought the contract in the morning, the options contract. So unnecessarily, the small people have been penalized. This was a market moving event, announcement which should have been made. Either you, if you can make it whenever you want, but then you have to make sure that the day on which this is being made is a day in which things are moving efficiently. How can you make it on a day when things are so inefficiently moving? You cannot put small people into jeopardy. Small investors have been put in massive jeopardy and losses because of this. Or you go and cancel all these contracts. Don't put them in losses. Anyway, we'll also be representing this to the SEBI, and they should be knowing what has happened, and this is small investors should be represented. This is an issue which is very sad. A market moving event suddenly getting announced, people not being aware and compulsorily being forced to square their positions, or whatever has happened is a disaster. Right from the minute the market opened, it was not in tandem at all with Asia. You can go back and see it was just moving on its own. Nothing would have worked on that day. And this a major disruption. There was no need to open it for last 1 hour and and after announcing a big news about this private sector banks being given a big say, and then you have the bank nifty go through the roof and people being forced to cover their shorts. And this is now how efficient stock markets function. This is a very, very poor way in which an efficient stock market has functioned yesterday. This is not what foreigners FIIs will not take it very kindly. Today, the small investors would have lost money, but tomorrow they may think that we will lose the money if the government does not efficiently run these stock exchanges. So they are SEBI is requested to intervene. We will also be making a representation because what has happened is not in the interests of a common investor, and I definitely am for the interests of a small common person. And neither is it for an institutional investor, because this is an inefficient way of administering the important stock exchange of one of the important economies of the world. What message are you sending to the FIIs, to the world, in addition to your own small investors who have lost their hard-earned money? People did not get an exit when they wanted, and when they wanted to exit, they were not given an opportunity and forced to throw. I mean, this is not a way. If I'm putting an order on NSE, you execute it on NSE. You don't have to execute it on BSC. There's a thinner trading there, and the rates are very volatile, and everybody knows that the volume of trading is lower, and you try to sell it over there, you may not get the right price, especially in a day when things are so inefficiently moving. People keep talking about many human rights violations. There is a battery of lawyers, jurisprudence experts, but I think this itself is a right of a person to have efficient information beforehand, right? Before you buy a put or option. That was not there, and when it was given was the wrong time, when you had already bought that option. In effect, it may not be from a constitutional perfect, from a liberty point of view, but you're breaching the human right. It's a right to information. People need to have all this information before they invest their money, and don't put it at the wrong time and forcibly square their positions, as many brokers have done, discount brokers. Our organization should be looking into setting up a platform. We are looking, but till all these things matter, I'm sure that SEBI will look into many irregularities which have happened yesterday. Very disappointing day of trading, and all I can say is for the retail investors, we will come not to get disheartened. This is something which was not in your hands, but we will definitely find some ways for people to work better in the markets and hope that the stock exchanges this does not repeat in the future. It was a very, very poor message sent to the FIIs whom we are screaming for coming and putting money in the stock markets. And I hope the Prime Minister as well will, and I'm writing to the Prime Minister's office also, they will make a note of it, of what has happened yesterday. They should be aware of it. Happy investing.